Hey guys, so this video today is similar to another video that I did in the past. In the past, I did a video on different energy modalities, and in this one, I'm going to do different therapy modalities or techniques based off of my experience that I've had with them. So, I have experienced brain spotting, EMDR, and most recently, family constellations. Two of which have to do with your eyes and eye movement or a fixed eye gaze and brain repatterning and all that jazz. And the other one is more so working deeply in the family tree, the family constellation, honoring and healing feelings in that way. And it's used as like a psychodrama is what I think someone calls it. Psychodramatics maybe is the term. I can't remember. And you can see it in the TV show Another Self. But I also feel like it has a flavor of energy woven into it as well. Um, Very powerful to add into a psychology practice though. So with brain spotting, you can do with a trained professional and then get a feel for what it's like for you. And then you can also, after that, do brain spotting on yourself. You have to have a really strong sense of self-awareness to do brain spotting. You have to have a strong sense of self-awareness as well as body awareness. Self-awareness, knowing your patterns and your stories and what you're showing up for. You don't have to have it like 100% like figured out. Um, but just some type of awareness because you do want to be aware and not avoidant or honing in on one thing in like in the session. I don't know why my nose keeps itching. And then the body awareness, brain spotting interestingly does bring up body sensations. And so there is that need for that somatic presence as well to just notice what's moving through the body as the brain does all this work. So when you're brain spotting, um, you'll have it's really fascinating. So brain spotting is a fixed eye gaze where you have like a pointer. So like let's say this is the pointer, and then you have the four quadrants, right? And you find a spot with your eyes that has tension. So like let's say you're looking and that is the spot that has tension. Then you focus on that spot and pay attention to like, and the tension's like in your eyes or in your vision or your face, or even your body. And you focus on that spot and allow the tension to move and dissipate. And brain spotting, you can focus on one spot for the entire session, or you can do it in increments, or you can even do it where it's like one eye, and then you can maybe not do it with that eye and then switch and find another spot with the other eye. So like let's say it was like down there. And you would still just keep working, allowing the brain to spot on its journey, and then you talk out what is coming up for you in the journey. It's really weird. If you've done a mushroom trip, it kind of feels like a mushroom trip on your brain. Um, and it's really interesting how everything connects. Like you might have this story about your mom, and then all of a sudden you have this story about like waiting a table, followed by like when you scraped your knee, followed by like this insight about an ex, and it just goes everywhere. And it oddly enough does connect, and you realize how clever the brain is at hiding things to keep you safe. And then you find a newfound respect for the brain as well as you do this, right? And then you notice the body sensations, and then make sure you breathe, make sure you hydrate. Don't go off into any activities after brain spotting. Give yourself the day off if you're going to do it. It's a lot of work that the brain does as it stares in that way and is engaged with in the therapeutic way that it is engaged with. Um, the practitioner will help you spot and talk through things as it's coming up or help you breathe. They'll prompt you and create that safety to process. And then you might have an emotional release the next day. You might not. You might notice that the issue that you came to the table with just seems to have completely vanished. Or you might notice you're really agitated for like a week and then feel so much better. Um, all of that is normal because the brain still is largely undiscovered and it's just working stuff out. The fascinating part about brain spotting to me is that there's studies that are starting to show that you can use less brain spotting sessions or yeah, less brain spotting sessions than EMDR without reoccurring episodes that occur more often with EMDR, which that's interesting to me because Brain spotting is a fixed eye gaze, meaning your eyes don't move, they just focus on that spot. Whereas EMDR is like you move back and forth, or you tap and you're engaged with by the practitioner. But the movement of the eyes I find interesting because one is fixed eye and one has movement. So they're different. And it's obviously the eye and brain connection. Very fascinating to me. But yeah, they're discovering that people who do brain spotting don't have as many reoccurring episodes of whatever it is that they're working on, which could be really, really useful if and when insurance finally approves it, which who knows what'll happen with that. Um, so yeah, that's brain spotting. If you have a really good self-awareness, I sometimes like to sit with myself on Friday night and stare at my closet door and find my spots and have my intention. And I'll go through and notice the sensations and breathe through it and give my body the permission it needs to relax afterwards. I don't do it for like a full hour. It's usually for like 5 to 10 minutes. And even that helps. And then with EMDR, like I said, it's eye movement desensitization or something like that. And it moves or you tap. And EMDR was really interesting for me. I'd only done it a couple times. And I feel like the emotional release that it unlocked was so much more intense and out of control, like really messy, ugly crying, where I just really had to lay in bed as all this shame and grief came out of me for like a whole day. It was so intense. I feel like it was a much more noticeable release than the brain spotting. Yeah, I feel like the brain spotting was more satisfying in some ways because it didn't take me down in that way. It made me a little agitated for some of the sessions, but not all of them. Um, the EMDR really moved out like the tears and a lot of stuff as well, which I did value because I mean, tears are healing, they're cleansing. There's even studies on like our teardrops, right? Our teardrops have the ability to detox. They do release like metals and things from our eyes. I don't know if it's metals exactly, but like toxins from our eyes. So as you cry, you're actually detoxing your eyes. And that's a beautiful thing. You're detoxing emotions while two for oneing and actually physically healing your eyes. So EMDR had that. EMDR had a lot more intense body sensations in it for me as well. And I just felt so much more raw after EMDR, which I've noticed a lot of EMDR people that I've interacted with, they also had a very raw feeling afterwards as well. And they don't really let people where I work do EMDR unless they have coping skills, because you really have to have the coping skills to not get pulled into the depths of the emotions, of the pain of the past that is surfacing and moving through you because you unlocked it with EMDR. You have to have the coping skills to breathe, to ground, to regulate, to self-soothe so that the emotions can finish processing and moving through you. Whereas with brain spotting, yes, the coping skills are just as necessary. However, I feel like with the emotional outpours and brain spotting, when they do happen, they're so much more manageable. It's much easier to like move through them and coast through them. Yeah, you coast through it with brain spotting, whereas EMDR, you feel like you're in the rapids sometimes. Um, and then let's see, family constellations. So family constellations has nothing to do with eye movement. It does have a component of you can like tap on your heart. However, family constellations more so works with the guided visualization and allowing the sensations to come up. So again, somatic awareness, body awareness, and being able to label what you're sensing coming up, being able to dialogue about your inner child, not necessarily trying to fix your inner child, but truly hearing and honoring the inner child. Um, and also the ancestors that show up in the session. And so the family constellations that I did was myself with the practitioner, and then they used little wooden blocks to symbolize different family members, which being that I do energy work, I understood that they were doing like surrogate with the blocks because we weren't working in an actual group. Um, which here in the US, there's not a lot of family constellations practitioners because it was developed in another country and really hasn't reached over here. Practitioner I worked with was actually out of Ireland. It was virtual. Brain spotting I did was virtual as well. And EMDR that I did was virtual as well, and they were all very powerful. Um, but when working in person with family constellations, you have the facilitator, you have a main person who is calling forward a group to placehold and be the constellation for them. And then the group will enact and play the roles and parts of the psyche, and then this playing out of the parts of the psyche helps that main person receive the healing, the insights, download the movement in the family tree that they need, which it's really interesting with constellations because even the people in the group receive healing because some subconscious pattern made them show up and be one of the placeholders. And so it's a really beautiful modality too, because it's not only just focusing on the one person, it's like the group receives healing, the facilitator receives healing, and it's just this beautiful group ripple effect of healing. So much so that I do want to study family constellations when we get back to New Mexico so that I can bring constellations here to the US and help work with groups back home in the Southwest. I think that would be a beautiful contribution to my homelands. Um, and I look forward to doing more constellation sessions. Constellations really hones in on ancestral stuff, whereas brain spotting and EMDR might be moving out ancestral stuff. I don't really know, but constellations definitely does move out ancestral stuff. And I've noticed having done family constellations for myself that things like having like a limp in my walk and walking off gait, like it changed dramatically to where I practically walk normal without the limping gait, and I suspect that it will continue to even out. And even like my teeth and gums have started to stabilize more. It looks and feels like my gums are actually not receding like they were pre-constellations. And I've been doing a lot of like mind body stuff and conversations with my teeth and gums for a while. And I feel like constellations was like the missing piece to that. And so that was a like huge relief to see that shift in my physical body. Um, and then also just feeling younger in my body. Constellations really helped me feel my age and not old and elderly, which I was raised by my grandma and I took on a lot of burdens for her trying to find my place in the constellation and not be given up for adoption again. And so yeah, it was like I gave back all the weight that I was carrying for her as a young little girl. And I gave back all the weight of burdens that I carried for my siblings that just weren't mine to carry. And in so doing, it made me, I feel like it's made me like age in reverse where like I aged prematurely really quick. And now I feel like I'm young and youthful and vibrant and like my age and like 30, flirty and thriving, right? Um, and that just came from family constellations and it was powerful. It was mind-blowing. It was freeing. It made me feel so much more connected to my ancestors in ways that ancestral meditations did not do for me, in ways that ancestral devotionals did not do for me. I feel like it moved blocks to where I could really feel healed and held by my ancestors, um, which was very liberating for me as well. So yeah, that was family constellations. Also, I feel like family constellations made it where it was easier for me to show up for my business. It was easier for me to write. It was easier for me to get the days off that I desired from work. It was easier for me to generate more money and manifest quicker. Um, I feel like it also gave me a lot more patience, and I'm not nearly as annoyed with my husband as I once was. Some of my stuff I think was like past ancestors and their grievances and annoyances and their like partnerships. Um, it made me not trigger as easily. I feel like it made me a better listener to myself and to others. And it made me more okay being in my own company and not caring if I fit in or if I stand out or um, like what people think of me. And it made it easier for me to communicate clearly and articulate clearly from the heart. At first, there was like a little hiccups. I didn't feel like I was able to communicate with a strong voice. I wavered a little bit, but then I feel like I got stronger and um in so doing, like I feel like yeah, it's just opened up so many doors for me with writing, with recording videos, with content creation ideas, and just with like speaking to my higher power and really being surrendered to life and being moved by life and being in service to the human collective, being in service to my family tree, and just really aligning with my true north. Like family constellations did so much for me. The other two are more technical and feeling and emoting and somatic, and they did help me work through stuff. They helped me work through trauma when I was like homeless. Um, and then yeah, constellations, it wasn't anything with the homeless. It was more so it helped me move through um making a decision around having biological children or not. And it also helped me come into a better understanding of myself with like my marriage, as well as my dreams, as well as my inner masculine and my masculine energetics, creating a healthy masculine energy in me. And then, yeah, very, very life-changing stuff with constellations. You can tell that's the one that wowed me the most. Um, and then the other one, oh, I forgot to mention it at the start of the video, ART. ART is another one that I have had the privilege of trying. And that one is really great too, because I feel like ART, it's also eye movement because they do like this like waving thing in front of your eyes. Um, and that one has to do with basically like they're scrubbing your brain with script and imagery. You get to do the imagery based off script, of like these hardships, these times in your life, these fears, these heavy things, and it helps you find resolution. I think it's like accelerated resolution technique or something like that. I don't remember. Um, but anyways, I used ART to help me work through when I was homeless, and then I also used ART to help me with public speaking and recording videos for YouTube. And there was something else. What was it? I don't know. But anyways, I used it for that. And I feel like my fear when I turned on the camera disappeared. I feel like um, talking became easier, being more confident when I talked to friends, and making friends became easier as well. And then I'll be curious to see what happens with ART in the future because I really want to read poetry out loud. I've been too scared all these years to do it. And I feel like I'm finally going to do it. And I'm curious to see what the nerves feel like in my body at that time because I know what they've felt like in the past. But having done the ART, I would love to see what it's like in the aftermath of ART. Like, did I read confidently? Did I read with more ease? Do I still have all the nerves or did they tone down a lot? I'll be curious to see how that plays out. But yeah, I feel like ART gave me a lot of confidence and it did help me move out a lot of shame and guilt from those times. And it helped me put like fun reframes on survival sex work and um like not reframes on survival sex work, but reframes on sex work. I experienced survival sex work and how I could possibly go into the realms of sex work again from a more empowered place so I could more fully explore my body from this healed place of the healed feminine and embodiment, and then obtain ideas for creativity in the book that I'm writing that is all about pussy. Um, and yeah, I feel like ART really created the safety to kind of explore that, which was really cool as well. Um, so yeah, I think that's what I got on those three modalities and the bonus ART if you made it this far. And yeah, I hope this helps. And I don't know, I just felt called to say no, not going back into survival sex work, like adult entertainer um sex work and just using it to research for poetry. Uh, but anyways, yes, I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear if you've had EMDR, brain spotting, ART, or family constellations and what your experience was. And if it's an uplifting experience, please share it to help others um, in their journey. Or if you had a really hard time with it, share that as well, because that might be helpful with them in their journey as well. Thank you so much and be well.